Okay, the countdown is counting. I don't know if anyone is going to join me. Where is my vape? I need to go find my vape. I will be right back. Just need to go find my vape. Where in the world? Oh no, where is it? Vape. Dang it. How in the world did I lose my vape? Hello, I am going to read all of the most ridiculous op-eds have been coming out because obviously we have a lot of progressive races, anti-corporation candidates who aren't taking corporate money are in Michigan, in Florida, Arizona, Wisconsin, and especially I think after what we saw in New York, what we've seen really everywhere, the establishment is scared. So the establishment has been putting out tons of op-eds to convince you that this is the worst ever. And I want to just have some fun for a little bit and read them. So sharing screen, window, whoop. Okay. We will start with my local paper, the Chicago Tribune editorial. This just came out when? This came out July 5th. Let's see, do I like this setup? I don't really know how to change it. Oh. Let's see. I don't really know. Okay. Whatever. No. 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 Okay, that works. All right. This one is by the Chicago Tribune, and it is called Centrist Democrats Must Not Let Democratic Socialists Take Over Their Party Without a Fight. Are you ready for this? I'm ready. Donald Trump remade the Republican Party in his own image, and those GOP incumbents who've attempted to stand in his way or haven't been exuberantly supportive enough for his liking nearly always have been dispatched to retirement by MAGA primary voters. Establishment Democratic Party politicians are getting to know the feeling. You're really. Okay. I'll wait before I add my commentary. First, a trio of Democratic Socialists upstarts endorsed by New York's DSA Mayor Ron Mamdani, proving himself to have Trump-like influence within his fiefdom, ousted two incumbent Democrats and defeated a third endorsed by the retiring Congresswoman, all representing Big Apple districts. Then, last Tuesday, incumbent Democratic Rep. Diane DeGette, seeing her 16th term representing Denver, was thumped in the primary by 29-year-old Democratic Socialist Malik Quiros. Quiros won by more than 10 percentage points despite carrying the baggage of past incendiary statements, such as seeming to give the United States and its Middle East policies primary responsibility for 9/11, positions that in recent past would have relegated her to the fringe at best. One of the Mamdani-backed victors in New York, 32-year-old Darlisa Avila Chevalier, told a group of veteran journalists calling themselves the New York editorial board that she believes deportation from the U.S. shouldn't happen at all, that the view of bordering is a very modern construct, actually, and that she would love to explore allowing non-citizens to vote. Worse, Chevalier attended a rally in Times Square on October 8th, attacking Israel one day after Hamas had butchered 1,200 people, including children and babies. At the time, New York Governor Kathy Hochul called the rally abhorrent and morally repulsive, as indeed it was. I want to be very clear. The rallies after October 7th were not about celebrating the attacks of Israelis. They were about making sure that Palestinians would not be genocided. in response, because this has been a long time genocide and a long time apartheid. But we've only always gotten one side of the story. And now we have both sides. And so framing it as a moment to cheer Hamas is so disingenuous, so dishonest, but par for the course. Thus, the GOP attack ads write themselves. Demonstrably, a majority of Democratic Party voters in deep blue parts of urban America are so enraged with the current state of affairs that they're taking their anger out on people over whom they feel they have some control. Establishment Democrats. Part of what's at work is a reasonable desire to give a party with more than its share of grizzled congressional veterans a jolt of youthful energy. It has nothing to do with wanting youthful energy. Okay. That much we understand, but the majority of Americans aren't socialists and don't wish to be governed by kissing cousins of Karl Marx and Kim Jong-un. After CNN reported on phrases like "seize the means of production" showing up, among many other classics, in Chavlier's now deleted Twitter account, she said she had grown and moved on from such youthful absurdities, such as supporting the government of North Korea. But we've yet to see the evidence that she's traveled far at all. To this point, the party's leadership seems at sea about what to do. As Trump has done to many respected incumbents in his party, like John Cornyn, who was defeated in his May primary runoff, so Mamdani, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, and other socialists are doing to the likes of New York Rep. Stan Goldman and Adriano Escobar. To liken this to Trump is actually crazy, because the issue is that Trump is an authoritarian, okay? The issue is that the Democratic establishment is not fighting authoritarianism at all. Literally at all. And that we need real fighters. And we are up against, this is not right versus left. This is up versus down. This is the people against corporations. And corporations run the entire establishment, whether you are MAGA, whether you are a Democrat establishment. The people are just against corporate rule, because that's what's happening. The stakes in this civil war within the Democratic Party go beyond the future of the party itself, a question we thought apt to explore on the nation's birthday weekend. As the country's two major political parties move further towards their ideological extremes, Americans in the political middle find themselves homeless. Does anyone feel politically homeless? Genuinely curious. Folks on the center-right have been grappling with this phenomenon for a decade, to so-called never-Trumpers. Now the center-left looks bound to join them in a political no man's land. Or does it? So far, the Democratic Socialists of America's success has been confined in large part to deep blue city districts. Meanwhile, in suburban areas and in statewide contests, establishment Democrats generally are winning against progressive challengers. Chicago saw its own version of this dynamic in March in the hotly contested, crowded race to succeed Jan Schakowsky in the 9th Congressional District. The bomb-throwing influencer? Okay. The fact that they're bringing this up pisses me off, because do you know how much money was spent against Kat Abigazala? You know, and I'm not making any claims about Daniel Biss or his specific campaign, but there were a lot of outside parties meddling with Daniel Biss. I have received stories directly from people that I have not validated, but I will say I have heard stories of people close to the campaign killing stories about Daniel Biss that would look unfavorable by leveraging their relationships with funders to local papers. We had a dark money smear campaign executed by somebody who worked on Daniel Biss's campaign, a smear campaign against Kat Abigazala. They played really dirty. So like saying that it didn't work here in Chicago, she was so close if they didn't play those games. And if Bushra would have dropped off like she promised, as documented. Anyways, I just like, their examples are so infuriating because it's not real. It's not real when you are up against that much money in dark, dirty political games like that. Anyways, what is clear is that centrist Democrats haven't mounted much of a fight. They never do. They don't fight anybody. They don't fight Trump. And they don't fight any, they're not fighters. The DSA candidates and those in their ideological camp have an identity and an energy none can mistake. They stand for Medicare for all, taxing the rich, yanking all military aid to Israel, abolishing immigration and customs enforcement, and rebranding capitalism as a dirty word. Oh my God. These are not extremist. In fact, like any other country other than America that is supposed to be like a developed nation, which I hate that word too, because we are the ones who undeveloped other countries to become developed. They all do these things. It is extreme to not do these things. It is extreme to have the amount of money that we have and to still allow people to starve, to go hungry, to not have healthcare. People we are the only developed country to not have healthcare for everybody. How do we not tax the rich? It's insane. Insane. And yes, abolish ICE. We invented ICE in 2001. Get rid of it. The problem for Democrats is that while those are winning positions in blue cities, they won't play in many battleground states, let alone places like Iowa and Ohio, where Democrats will need to compete if they ever want to hold the White House again following the reapportionment in the next decade. The electability argument is also stupid because populist policy appeals to both sides, which is why Republicans fight it so hard and Democrats join them, because they need the party split in two, because they need the struggle so that we stay not even in the middle, we're further right, but they can't let us actually progress. And that's why it's progressive, but they're actually up against progressives. This is not even socialism. It's not socialism. Democratic socialism is not socialism. Sanders, who has been nothing if not consistent over his decade of public service, said on X that he believes the recent DSA victory suggests the country is on the brink of a political revolution we have been fighting for. Good luck with that message in flyover country when the revolutionaries don't enjoy the advantage of light turnout primaries. What would happen if we didn't have all of this propaganda, though? While unhappiness with Trump's second term may well yield short-term gains, such as recapturing for now the House of Representatives, the leftward lurch will make it far harder to defeat Trumpism in the intermediate long term. Another thing I want to say that I was told was that a lot of the people in the fundraising world in Chicago were saying if Kat Abigazzala wins, we will never be able to fundraise in the North Shore again. This all comes down to money. This comes down to how they can get money in politics. And when money is in politics, then those people can influence politicians. They can influence policy. They can influence all of it. And so they're coming out with all of these op-eds because they do not want to lose corporate influence. Anyways, fuck this one. All right, which one are we going to do next? Let's see. I have... Beep. Oh my God. Okay. I have another one. Let's see it. Adding share screen window. This one is called Jesus would not have endorsed the Democratic Socialists of America. Idaho statesman. See, so the previous one I just read was the Chicago Tribune, and they literally said that Democratic socialism is not something that is going to bring out voters in places like Idaho. If that were the case, why is Idaho so scared of that being a possibility that they are putting out pieces like this? You're showing me that it is possible, and that's why you are working so hard to squash it. Okay, this one came out today. Jesus would have not endorsed the Democratic Socialists of America. Ooh, that's so, oh my God, okay. In the same year that Americans are celebrating the Declaration of Independence, blah, blah, blah. At my institution and in churches around the country, Christians are revisiting an old question: was Jesus the first socialist? The idea is appealing to many of my students and fellow followers of Jesus. I don't even think I can read this. I'm gonna be triggered. I grew up very Christian. Okay. I'm just gonna read it. Economic studies of government laws and policies always seek to distinguish between the seen and the unseen. Economists ask both the question of what the immediate effects of government policy will be, but also ask what the likely unintended consequences are of the same. What is seen in Jesus' teaching is to call to radical generosity. What is unseen by many readers of this teaching is that the call was always directed at the individual's heart, not to the Roman authority or the tax collector. Socialism is defined by concentration of power to forcibly achieve a redistribution of wealth. Is that how it's defined? Socialist policies are not voluntary, but rather coercive. No, it's coercive to extract people's fucking labor while they live in poverty and people are making billions of dollars. That is coercive. Are you fucking joking me? Oh my God. Resulting from a monopoly of power the government holds over the use of force. No, no. Jesus replied, who appointed him a judge or arbiter, and instead cautioned against envy. Furthermore, Jesus' parables repeatedly uphold the principles of a free society, such as honoring contracts and the right to one's profit from their labor or their private property. Okay, but the thing is, people aren't actually profiting off of their labor because their labor is being exploited by billionaires and by corporations. And then they're paid minimum wage. That's not profiting off of their labor. Okay, I can't read this one. It's pissing me off too much. Okay, let's see. Is there another one that's interesting? Oh, Jesus. Tampa Democratic Socialists help erase $2 million in medical debt for Hillsborough residents. That's really nice. See, I don't see the problem with that. Is China funding what? What is China funding the Democratic Socialist wave in U.S. politics? You guys are fucking insane. The DSA recruiting video claims. That's true. The DSA's recruiting video claims the Constitution was written to protect rich slaveholders. It literally was written for that, and that's why we have to amend it to make it apply equally to everybody who is here in this country. We should abolish the Senate. Honestly, the Senate is there to like take back. Okay, I'm gonna pull up this one. Okay, I don't think let me turn this on so you can hear it. 1 second. Share screen. Window, also share audio. Okay.
Nice to see David out of his suit and his collar unbuttoned a little bit. All right, President Trump's visit, meanwhile, comes as the social surge spreads west. A far left congressional candidate who called 9/11 and the October 7th attacks on Israel inevitable has knocked out a 29-year incumbent in Colorado. Our chief congressional correspondent, Chad Perger, is reporting live on the Hill. He's got an update on all of that for us. Hello, Chad.
Sandra, good afternoon. Diana DeGette has served in Congress since 1997, but 29-year-old Milat Kiros beat DeGette in the Colorado primary last night. It's the latest swing to the left by the Democratic Party.
We will not wait! We will not wait to abolish ICE and pass Medicare for all! We will not wait to put an end to the politics of the past, to get big money out of our politics, and to reject corporate tax. And no, we will not wait to end the genocide in Palestine!
Snaps.
Democratic Socialists have racked up wins. They knocked off 2 incumbent Democrats in the New York primary last week. The left has a vision for the country which diverges from what mainstream Democrats have pushed for years.
Some progressives that are winning, they're winning on platforms like Medicare for all, universal health care, universal child care, raising the minimum wage. And the reason that Donald Trump has to pivot from saying socialist to saying communist now is because socialism is actually quite popular.
Republicans oppose radical ideas advocated by the left, but in a strange way, the GOP believes this could actually help their party hold the House. Republicans say the progressive agenda frightens the very voters Democrats hope to court.
We're no longer in a battle just between Republicans and Democrats arguing over marginal tax rates or the size of regulation. This election and this year and the arguments and the things that are happening in Congress right now is a contrast between people who love the country and its founding principles and those who have open disdain and hatred for them.
Now, these Democratic socialists will likely win their seats this fall, but the question is if Republicans can nationalize the election. That could make it hard for Democrats to win in swing districts. Sandra?
Chad Pergram live on the Hill there for us. Chad, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's bring in Laura Ingram, host of the Ingram Angle. Laura, it's great to have you with us this afternoon.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks for coming in a bit early. So here's how Politico Playbook described Milot Kiros's win over Diana DeGette last night. Quote, PhD student and part-time barista with no political experience taking on a 30-year member of Congress who outraised her 2-1. This socialist red tide was described by many Democrat analysts and specialists, who I think were more hopeful than anything. It was described as a New York-only phenomenon. Clearly, it is not that.
No, I mean, remember in 2009, the Republican Party had its own eruption with the Tea Party. I was at a lot of those events. In 1979, Ronald Reagan shook up the Republican Party from the old guard, and he ended up winning huge, obviously. But this is their moment, and they're not messing around. They want the party to change dramatically from the old Clinton, even Obama era of, appearing at least on the surface to be more reasonable, not using terms like socialism or things like abolishing ICE. Old Democrats would never say that. They would say either we need a strong border or we got to reform ICE. But they've had enough of that. And they're going for political blood here. And I wouldn't just look to what's happening in Colorado, but you have an upstart running for governor in Wisconsin, Francesca Hong, who I believe also has a decent chance with zero real political experience or real world experience. And so they think this is their moment. I do agree that Republicans have a massive opportunity to flip this narrative on them and really drive turnout because of what this will mean to our standard of living, our safety, our security, our border, all those basic things that most Americans, just common sense people, think we actually need.
Yeah, flipping that narrative, Laura, great to have you on, is clearly what we're seeing on the part of the White House and the part of the Republican Party. This was some of the interview with J.D. Vance on your show last night. Listen.
It is communism, Laura. This is not raising taxes a little bit, however much we might disagree with that. This is abolishing the police. This is let criminals run amok in your cities. This is flood your country with low-wage third world immigrants. And importantly, it's confiscating wealth, not because we want to make anybody's life better, but purely out of resentment.
Will Republicans get through to voters with that kind of messaging, Laura?
Oh, I think so. I mean, look, you had Chris Murphy the other day, a senator from my home state of Connecticut, say, well, I might not agree with everything essentially, but they're bringing a lot of energy to the party and capitalism really hasn't worked in many ways for many people. I say to my old Connecticut Yankees, Colt Manufacturing, Pratt Whitney Aircraft, Electric Boat, Sikorsky, Otis Elevator, all the great manufacturing history of Connecticut. Now all the hedge funders and all the private equity guys who commute in from New York and live in Greenwich, are they ready to have their wealth confiscated and the end of capitalism? How is that going to work out for Connecticut? So I think in the end, a lot of Democrats, they may think, oh, this is great energy. But in the end, people vote with their feet. They're going to leave a lot of these jurisdictions. And this will be a short-lived phenomenon that I think could actually propel the Republicans to victories they might otherwise have really had to fight for.
Yeah, capitalism hasn't worked for some people, but socialism hasn't worked for anyone. Hey, so again, this was seen as a New York-only phenomenon, but take a look at this. The number of far-left candidates who have won primary elections this year, I mean, that's enough to fill up a wall. That is a full 28-member MLB team roster. And what's interesting is that, back in the 1960s, there was a socialist surge, but no overtly socialist candidates ever were elected to Congress. This time around, things are far different because these people really want to shape the Democratic agenda.
Yeah, and I think the difference between like the 70s where you had a lot of these anti-American movements.
I don't know where to begin. I got distracted with texting. But this whole thing is the radical platform to abolish the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate doesn't do anything that is helpful for democracy. You have your House of Representatives, which there are districts. It's heavily gerrymandered in many locations, but people vote for a different amount of representatives depending on the state, depending on all of these things. But no matter what, there are 2 senators, and then the Senate can like pretty much undermine anything that comes from the populist. So yeah, like what is the function of the Senate other than to undermine the populist, to undermine the House of Representatives? Just saying, that's not a crazy platform. Okay, going back, seeing what else people have to say about socialists today. This is the Nixon Southern strategy we are going through. Yes, literally, yes. For those who are not aware, Southern strategy was what happened after George Wallace. George Wallace famously opposed Brown versus the Board of Education having to desegregate schools. So he chained himself to the University of Alabama, I want to say, and he did not want to let Black people in. He was the governor of Alabama. He then ran for president on a very populist platform, and people were surprised how well he did. He was a Democrat because the parties just were not the same as what they are now. So he was a Democrat. He ran third party. Kevin Phillips was a strategist at the time. This was in the 70s, and he saw how well populist messaging did because it appealed to Northerners who felt left behind, working class Northerners, and then it appealed to the South, people who opposed civil rights. And so Nixon created a new strategy, which he deployed Kevin Phillips created a new strategy called the Southern strategy, where they focused on states' rights, dog whistles, essentially, being left behind by the Washington elite. And are you going to let the elites in Washington dictate what happens in your schools? Just like it really focused on populist language that appealed to the North and South. And that is how Nixon won. And that is what shifted the Republican Party to what it is today in order to come up with policies and like manipulate people into wanting policies that would help to maintain segregation or maintain white supremacy within our legislation. So that is Southern strategy. What's happening now is a shift similarly where we are again, like, people want populist policies. They are tired of corporations running everything. They're tired of people with money being able to come in and influence our politics. So that is why populist policies work. And that's that. Yeah, we had our first Black president and the Dixie GOP lost their goddamn mind. Absolutely. Donald Trump was a response to the United States having a Black president. It is like you said, the Southern strategy. It's the same like flip to maintain white supremacy. The system keeps adapting to protect itself, to protect capital, to protect white supremacy, to protect the elites. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? God. Godless communists. The dirty stay, the DSA's Tea Party strategy. No. Ew, don't group us with Sam Altman, that piece of shit. We've been down this socialist road before. The DSA can't hide its extremism. Again, I want to reiterate, it is not extreme to want people to be able to eat, to be able to keep a roof over their heads. We should not have trillionaires exploiting labor, gutting our government, gutting our services while people are hungry. That's just fact. It's not extreme. It shouldn't be extreme. There is a problem if that is extreme. What is actually extreme is the fact that people are starving. What's extreme is that our education system is so gutted. What is extreme is that people actually don't have access to healthcare. What is extreme is that we have maternal health deserts. Texas has almost 50% of counties have a maternal health desert where women cannot get access. Women cannot get access to women's healthcare. Black women are 3 times more likely to die with childbirth or pregnancy. That is extreme. When we are the richest country, that should not be the reality. It is extreme that it is. We need to stop letting them say that those who want everyone to be taken care of are the extreme ones. Okay, what else we got going on here? Democratic Socialists of America want to tear down the whole country. Democrats must reject extremism on the left as firm as the right. Yeah, they're just losing their goddamn minds. I can't. Do any of these interest you guys? Do you want me to read any of these? Should we take a break from this? Where are we at? Socialists set sights on Taylor Swift. Oh my God. Anyways, today there is going to be a vote at 3 o'clock my time. Actually, I think the debates are happening right now. So let me see if I can pull them up. Maybe we can do a little live watch for a minute. Let me make sure. I don't know when my cleaning lady is coming. I'm gonna have to go when she does. YouTube, maybe we can watch the live debates about stopping aid to Israel. Oh, why is my computer being so slow? Okay. Debates. Live Massey debate. It should be right now. Filter. Live debate. Appropriations Committee. Live. Okay. Oh, my computer is being so slow right now. Let's see, maybe I need to. Uh-oh. Okay, let me see. Downloads. Folder. No. Whatever. Come on, YouTube. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. It's very weird. Okay. Debate and aid to Israel. Let's see. When is the debate? Today, House Appropriations Committee. Okay, so he introduced the amendment just now. Let me.
Madam Chair, my amendment.
Okay, Share screen, window, turn on audio, share. Uh-oh. Okay.
Simple. It strikes $3.3 billion of foreign aid to the country of Israel from the State Department funding bill. You know, we've got $39.4 trillion of debt. We've got needs at home, which include our infrastructure, our roads and bridges. We've got a shortfall in that fund. We've got our locks and dams that we're perpetually trying to figure out new funding mechanisms to come up with. And we've got homeless veterans. And we're sending more money to Israel in this bill than we spend on homeless veterans in this country. Just to put it in perspective, there are 3,000 counties in this country. And if you divide that into $3 billion, that's $1 million from every county. This is not a significant amount of money that is going overseas. So I think we should stop it. We should put them on a diet. They're the biggest welfare recipient of the United States and have been for many years. $310 billion has been received by Israel from the taxpayers of the United States. That's in inflation-adjusted dollars since we've been giving them money. And that's why I think this amendment is important, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Madam Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
And is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As chairman of this subcommittee since 2023, I'm proud to be a leader in this body in providing unwavering support to our friend and ally, Israel, especially after the October 7th.
How are they our ally? What have they done for us?
The $3.3 billion in foreign military financing for Israel included in this bill supports our national security interests overseas. You see, the same terrorists and terrorist entities that threaten Israel also threaten the United States and our people directly.
I hate the word
Because when we
terrorist.
give Israel the tools and capabilities to eliminate these terrorist threats and to protect their homeland by including the many Americans who visit and live there, we are making America and the American people safer. The United States and Israel have worked together on successful military operations, like those in the past year to decimate Iran's nuclear program and missile capabilities.
They brought us to war illegally. They bypassed our Congress to bring us into war without the American people having a say in it. A disastrous war that has made the cost of oil. Oh my God, I don't have to like go through all of this, do I? And also, they worked with Trump to get Maduro, it appears, which was another violation of international law. I mean, the Pentagon said that they are like high threat level for spying on us. They are not our friends.
And Israel is also using the overwhelming majority of this funding to actually purchase American-made weaponry. So actually,
Which makes money for the weapons manufacturers. It doesn't help us at all.
our defense industrial base and our economy. And we work together extensively on developing military capabilities and other capabilities. Because of these advancements for our mutual interest and for our mutual security, there is currently a discussion, frankly, of moving to a new security partnership with Israel after the fiscal year 2028. Just to be clear, the assistance in this bill for fiscal year 2027 is under the terms of the existing MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which runs for 2 more fiscal years. This does not in any way prejudge the outcome of ongoing negotiations. This is about fulfilling our commitment to one of our closest and most important allies.
We need to condition commitments. You have to obey international law if you want. Like, they can't even commit to obeying international law. Are you fucking joking? Oh my God, stop gaslighting me.
That we have in the entire world at a time when terrorists are butchering people around the world. And we made that commitment because it makes the American people, our country, stronger. So I urge defeat of the amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Kentucky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard a common refrain in my colleagues' arguments there that, oh, don't worry, all this money is going to the military-industrial complex. Well, I've got a problem with that. That's not a sustainable economy. Buying weapons and letting people use them overseas on other people, particularly oftentimes innocent civilians. And I'm not compelled by the argument that our job is to be here and enrich the military-industrial complex, now called the Defense Industrial Base. With that, I would like to yield 2 minutes to my friend and colleague, Mr. Castro from Texas.
The gentleman is recognized.
Madam Speaker, Israel does not need, and quite honestly, does not deserve more American money for weapons. Prime Minister Netanyahu has taken Israel down an ugly path. The tragedy of October 7th has become a justification for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Self-defense does not include indiscriminately bombing homes, hospitals, churches, schools, or refugee camps. There were even credible reports of children intentionally shot in the head and chest. For decades, our nation gave Israel billions to facilitate peace and a two-state solution. Instead, Israel has chosen more war and more occupation. Today, it occupies not only Gaza and the West Bank, but parts of Syria and Lebanon. If there are no consequences, why in the world would Benjamin Netanyahu change what he's doing? Words are not enough. Condemnations are not enough. If we hope to change Israel's behavior, we must use our leverage. The American people have seen this tragedy with their own eyes. They have made their judgment. They do not support giving Israel more weapons. Do not reward a wrongdoer. Now it's up to us in this chamber to take action. I support this amendment. I yield back.
And I'll recognize the gentleman from Kentucky.
Mayor inquires how much time I have remaining.
The gentleman has a minute and a half remaining.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I yield to the distinguished ranking member of the subcommittee, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Franklin. For 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in very strong opposition to this amendment. Maintaining stability in the Middle East has long been a vital United States strategic interest, and what happens there affects our economy, our national security, the safety of our American service
How's that stability going?
members. And as written, this amendment is overbroad in that it prohibits or could limit the use of funds for long-standing initiatives related to peace building, refugee settlement, and U.S. embassy operations. And this amendment would restrict our country's ability to confront Iran's proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations in the region who are sworn enemies of the United States, Israel, and our allies. A 10-minute debate is not the way to change policy as we have a mission of peace and prosperity, both for Israelis and Palestinians, and peace in the region. Yield back.
Again, since when does giving more weapons create more peace? Idiots.
Gentleman from Florida.
I would like now to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer.
Gentleman from Florida. Maryland. You're recognized.
Madam Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to this amendment, which would dangerously undermine American national security. If adopted, it would, as Leader Jeffries rightly pointed out, limit our ability to confront terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah that expressly target American citizens and military personnel, and it would make it harder for America to use our relationship with Israel and regional partners to promote a negotiated two-state settlement.
I don't know, just take that money and create an Iron Dome for America. Like,
The only realistic path to deliver on the promise of peace, security, and self-determination for both Israel and Palestine. I understand the frustration that many members feel from some of the policies and actions of the current Israeli government, as well as their concerns about its commitment to the peace process and a two-state solution. However, this amendment would embolden enemies of peace, those pursuing the complete elimination of Israel, and those who seek the death of Jews. It is a vote to weaken our ability to engage in the...
while there are people who are anti-Semitic, this is not about that. This is about ending all violence for all people.
And it's a vote against American security, against American interest, and against American safety. Vote no.
The gentleman from recognized gentleman from Florida.
Let me just very briefly conclude. As I said before, this bill, I've said it many times, if you're an ally and a friend of the United States, this bill supports you, and if you're an adversary, you're not going to like this bill. We have no stronger ally than the state of Israel. This is our commitment.
They detained a sitting member of Congress. They detained U.S. veterans who were on the Global Smooth Flotilla to Gaza to bring humanitarian aid. They have beaten and SA'd American veterans. They have killed American Palestinian children. They have detained unlawfully American Palestinian children. There is currently an American Palestinian woman who's detained. There are multiple people who are detained. They are not our fucking allies. Are you fucking joking me? This is insanity.
Under the MOU, which is why I respectfully but very strongly oppose this amendment. And with that, I would yield back.
The gentleman yields. Gentleman from Kentucky.
And with that, I would like to close by saying that Israel has the strongest economy in the Middle East. Their debt per GDP is in much better shape than ours. They don't need our money. In fact, they've claimed recently they want to get off of the welfare. But I'm concerned that the other funding mechanisms they're talking about, or commingling our technology and supply chains, will have even less transparency than what's going on here today. So I'm opposed to that as well. I'm opposed to all foreign aid. I didn't pick on Israel here. I offered an amendment to defund Egypt and also to defund the aid to Jordan, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I am particularly concerned this year about the foreign aid to Israel. There have been 70,000 casualties in Gaza, and I don't think we should be part of that. American taxpayers should not be conscripted into funding the military adventures of Israel. And I urge adoption of my amendment. With that, I yield back.
Okay, so the vote is going to be at
All right, joining me on this is Congressman Ro Khanna, who represents California's 17th.
The vote for this is going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see. There are rumors that 150 Democrats are set to vote yes. I have heard that it is probably not going to pass. I don't expect it to pass. I think it would be an amazing miracle if it did. But this is kind of a once in a lifetime vote where we are just stripping $3.3 billion of aid. This doesn't happen. This has been part of the MOU since Obama, his parting gift as he was exiting office. Okay, well, I have to scoot and skedaddle. It was great to see you all. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for talking. Steve should be back next week. I will probably be here tomorrow and Friday as well. I'm going to try to find some friends to join me. But thanks for coming. It was good to see some of you guys. And yeah, appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. It was good to see you, Chicago Bish. Thank you, Thomas Kondo. Thank you, regular person. Happy to see you all. All right. Bye-bye.